the timeout at the end of regulation against the Rams?
Yeah, we wanted to make sure that we potentially had one more play. Like it happened in another game that happened last week or the week before. We just wanted to make sure that if they were going to throw the ball in that scenario, that we'd have one more attempt at it because they were in pretty comfortable range. So you kind of look at it like, what would I do in this scenario? In that scenario, I would have let the clock run down, which ultimately ended up happening, and kick the field goal right there, and that would be the last play of the game. So I was just trying to think about having one more chance if you could get them to kick the field goal with 16 seconds. But again, we didn't have all our array of timeouts, so you kind of you call the timeout there and then see how they play it and then go from there.
In terms of up tempo, what goes into the considerations of increasing that in a game, and is this a unit where that's particularly suitable to your personal
against Tampa?
Or
yeah, I'm not going to get into that or why we would do it, but it's always part of our equations, or part of our game planning to have tempo in our game plan. That's going back. If you've looked at our team from 21, 22, 23, 24, it's always been part of our game. Some years have been a little bit more, some games have been a little bit more, but that's always in consideration with us, and I think we operate well out of it, and there's a time and place for it to do it, and last week was obviously one of those times, and we executed well out of it.
I would expect a drastic increase on that average for the last couple of years.
I'm sorry, Brooks.
You mentioned the past couple of years that average, there wouldn't be kind of consideration of a higher tick than that.
So every game, every season, calls for different things. So again, like I said, I think we were up. I can't tell you exactly what the numbers were, but I know we were up high, particularly a couple years ago in no huddle. Every game, we'll see what happens.
At edge rusher, how do you compensate for the absence of Nolan Smith?
Yeah, this is why you have depth. This is why I'm so appreciative of Howie and his staff of what they, the players they bring in. We got a lot of depth there. It's never, and as you guys have asked me this before, it's like who replaces this guy's production? Well, it never just has to be one, right? Just like how you play defense. It's not one guy just doesn't have to make the tackle. Sometimes he does, but you play as a team. Well, it's the same thing, you got group tackles, you got gang tackles, and it's the same thing here. Not one guy has to take the production or take the reps. We got a lot of guys with that ability, and really excited about our depth and the guys that we have in that room.
What do you think? What is Adorie's situation as far as Sunday, and if he can't go, what do you like about Keely Ringo and the way he's kind of handled everything?
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how that goes. You guys will get an injury report later today. But Keely's done a really nice job. Just continuing to work to get better. And obviously, we have a lot of faith in him. I think a lot of times you can see guys make their way on special teams that may not play or start right away, and those guys that are able to do that and make their way on special teams have you trust those guys in these scenarios as well. I've had a lot of guys like that. I remember, and I know it's different with a corner too, because you're talking about covering and not just tackling and defeating blocks, but that's a big part of it as well. But I think back to Tyrell Williams, a wide receiver I had with the Chargers. In 2015, he was primarily a special teams player, and not catching a lot of balls. And then the last game of the year, he had an 80 or 70-yard touchdown on a post play. And then the next year, he has 1,000 yards receiving. So, but he made his way on special teams, right? That playing time's really, really critical.
In terms of the kick return personnel that you've had, even since the beginning of the offseason, you've had a lot of people in and out there, some of them injury related. What have been some of the, I wouldn't say issues, but what have been some of the things that you've encountered in terms of trying to evaluate that spot and find the right person?
Yeah. I'm really pleased and excited about the group that we have as far as our kick returners. Again, like I told you guys, I didn't feel like I did a good enough job preparing those guys to catch those kicks and give them enough reps. And that's it's a fundamental. And obviously, we fixed that this week, and would do it as didn't love the way I handled that. So, but excited about the talent we have back there. You have Tank, you have Mechie, you have AJ, Dylan, you got Will Shipley, right? So really excited about that, the core group of guys that we have back there. Just again, like I said, I just didn't feel like I did a good enough job preparing them last week, and that's not nobody but me. But I love the talent that we have back there. The runners that we have back there. It's very similar to a running play. And we got confidence in those guys to be able to do that.
With the emphasis on taunting from the league this year, do you have a good sense of what will be called and what won't be called?
Yeah, I do. That was in our, any time that you have a referee crew, you kind of know the penalties that they call, and you emphasize that every day. You guys know we have a team meeting, and one of the first things we talk about is that crew's emphasis, and kind of then just teaching them the rules within that, whether it's roughing the passer or pass interference or illegal shift, whatever it may be. And so this week we went and we'll continue to do this until we fix the problem. We did the taunts. I'm not saying that this crew has a high taunt penalty rate, but we are lacking in that area right now. So that's one of the ways we're working to fix it, is just to understand that they are calling it tighter. And hey, listen, the NFL can do whatever they want to do there. It's our job to play by the rules of how they're calling it. This is no different either than year in, year out. There's emphasis that NFL puts on a certain rule. They go through their studies just like we go through our studies. Hey, we got to get better at this, or we got to officiate this better. I love that. I love that they go through that process. And so, this is no different. It's just a different type of penalty that we're seeing, and it's getting called more. So it's our job to play within those rules, keep our composure, and play within the rules of the game.